everybody. Welcome back to the RGR Football channel here on YouTube. My name is Daniel Harms, finally recording from my office. Now, obviously, it's still a little barren here, but I do have the makings, everything going well. So I appreciate you bearing with me while I was in front of my couch for a little while, and that was no longer going to be happening. So I appreciate everything, like I mentioned. And today we're finally getting into the Trey Smith review, the very last draft prospect that I'm going to be watching for the channel, at least until the next draft cycle. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. This is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to finally get to show you guys some of the tape that I've got of him. And as you know, he is the left guard at Tennessee, played as number 73. One of the big things, the big takeaways from watching his tape really is that he's a strong upper body player, that when he has a very good base, he extends well and he can move people with all of those things. He can do it very well. And one thing you're going to kind of notice as he gets out here into spaces, he's not the most nimble of movers, but again, he's still developing some of that as it goes along, and he takes a little bit of a roundabout way to get most places. He has some issues with wasted movement. Good job here of just kind of getting down the line and then shoving the guy in the other screen. So I just want to show, this is one of the plays that you can actually see him not waste too much movement. He fires off, looks for who is end up coming, locates his guy, and gets out there and throws him to the ground. Like I said, that extension, the arm strength is really what we take away from Trey Smith, the left guard. And I do believe that his flashes are really considered to be what would have gotten him drafted in day 2. This, like I said, he's doing a good job of getting out in front of where the running back is going to be. Unfortunately, Tennessee's line is just not very good. So a lot of times if he's doing a good job, like he does on this play, it doesn't end up making much of a difference. But he's got very good extension. Here he is again at left guard. And one thing that you're going to notice about him is that he does have an inconsistent get off. But when he does get off well, he can do a good job of getting in front of his blocks. This is one of those plays specifically that he has a very good get off. Now, he's trying to reach to this side of this defensive tackle. Ideally, you want to get here, turn, and then wash with this linebacker. So let's show you what I'm talking about here. So you want to fire off at this direction, try to get on this side of the defensive tackle. And then when you're going to see number 53 here, kind of wash to it, try to run downhill, because this gap does open up. This is what he's trying to do. So when you fire off here with this, a good base, you fire off that trajectory, keep your pad level low, you can do a good job of hooking this defensive tackle, and you might be able to even get 2 blocks in one. He almost completes that. And this is where I'm talking about those flashes, because if you can consistently do this at the NFL level, you're going to be able to get 2 guys to one, especially with his size. He's got some awesome size. Like I said, that's a very good get off. It's still a little high for him because he's such a big guy, but he was off before the defensive tackle, well in position here, aiming at that left shoulder pad that he's got. And then he does a good job of getting to it. You have a bit of an extension. The one thing I would like to see him do a little bit more of is really stay with this tackle a little bit longer. Just get on him a little bit. And I think that will help not only contain him with this defensive tackle, because if you're washing down with this zone, everyone's moving in this, this direction here, because you want these cutback lanes. That's what these zone blocking schemes are designed to create, cutback lanes for running backs. If not, he can get to the edge and then get upfield, like right here. This is where your aiming point is with the running back here for this zone play. But typically, if you have a good defensive end that can hold this edge here, then you're going to find a cutback lane eventually, wherever it's going to end up being. So let's kind of make this a little bit more. So if Smith can stay a little bit more to the hip of this defensive tackle and contain the wash here with both of these players, this will also help this tackle get in here. Now, this this guy coming off the edge does a very good job of getting in there anyway, because he, he sees the back getting the football. So that's just a good play anyway. But you can do a good job of, like I said, staying on this defensive tackle and wash with that linebacker. Let's see that again, just because that's a pretty bad clip. But getting to the second level with the defensive tackle attached to you, it's like I said, it's a good job of getting there, but he's just got to do a better job of maintaining that single block, waiting for the tackle left to him to come help a little bit, and then getting to the linebacker. I think that's where a lot of his flow to the next level is still in a work in progress. But again, good get off and a good idea to get to that defensive tackle's hip, the shoulder pads, and kind of extend himself in that direction. He just, like I say, he just needs to take some more time there, work with the zone play, and then really connect to that linebacker on the second level. All right. So one thing that I think that he's still adapting in as a guard. Let me go back a little bit further. It's really about the hand fighting, and he's like I said, he's got very strong arms and very strong hands, and that's one thing that I think can definitely help him become like a Pro Bowl caliber type of player in the NFL. And here, his base is good. He's patient. He's fighting with this defensive tackle's hands. That's really what you like to see from that level. Again, the ball comes out quick, so you don't actually get to see the work pay off. He hasn't done a whole lot to this point, but keeping that base solid, being patient with the defensive tackle, and using hands and continuing to fight and move off and go from one hand to the other hand. It's a good step. It's a good process. It's a good flash for more pass protection snaps. So I really liked to see that aspect of his game kind of unfold a little bit during his tape. Now, like I mentioned, it's a lot of flashes. That's not out of the question with some of these interior offensive linemen coming into the NFL. A lot of them get drafted based on their flash plays and not necessarily their consistent plays. But this is one thing he consistently does at a high level when, his mind is right. He can extend. He's a very good help blocker right there. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This extension down on number 99, who's an extremely strong defensive tackle. Look at this. Look at his base. Look what he's done. Look what he's pushed him to. That's an impressive push. It's an impressive extension. And that, if you have a decent offensive line that can help move this guy out of the way, you're clearing a lane. And if you can then get off onto the next level, ideally what you want to do. So this extension as a help blocker is very nice to see. Like he keeps driving. That's another thing about him, is he's a worker. When he gets on a guy, he's going to keep blocking him. He wants to help block. He wants to do everything he can to displace that tackle or that defensive end, whoever he's helping. He's very good in that aspect. He likes to get in people's face, finish to the ground, to the whistle whenever he can. So I really, really like to see that extension. We've talked about that multiple times now, and that's really what's going to, I feel like his ideal spot this year is a sixth offensive lineman. I know that Nick Allegretti is probably going to be pushing for that role too, but if you're looking to get movement up front in the short yardage situation, I'm going Trey Smith over Nick Allegretti. I think he's a better tactician than Smith is to this point, but this guy is extremely strong, raw, brute force kind of guy. He's going to do whatever he can to move the guy in front of him or whoever you tell him to move right away. So again, left guard. And I think we could kind of get into some of the areas that he tends to struggle a little bit. This is one of those areas that I'm not a huge fan of. Obviously, this doesn't look like much at all, but let's go back quickly. So when you're firing off and you're looking to help, typically what you want to do is you're firing and helping at the same time. So look at the way that this defensive tackle, or this entire defensive line really is. So you kind of have a shade to the inside shoulder of this tackle, and you're free here to the second level. So you want to fire off with your hand to help slightly at this tackle, but you need to get to the second level, and you just watch his shoulders. Okay. Just watch his shoulders as he with his get off. It's a shimmy. He shimmies so so much. Like he just does this a lot with his shoulders. And I feel like it takes away a lot from his vertical movement upfield because it's like a tick and it gets in the way of his footwork. It gets in the way of his timing and his process. And as much as he's a pretty good, helper with his initial hand and that block, I think that timing wise, if you just get off and use that extension quickly, you're going to do more help for the tackle as well as yourself, because you're going to allow yourself to push off, really get to that next level. And you can see he was inhibited by number 56 because he just wasn't able to get to the next level quickly enough. That's a problem that happens all the time with this specific offensive line. I feel like he's the best. He's by far away the best tackle or the best player on this offensive line. It wasn't a very good offense at Tennessee, so it's really hard to fault him. And this is one of the problems as we get to another actual issue with Smith's tape. His balance and natural tendency to really lean into you as a defender gets him on the ground far too often. He is on the ground, man, I would say at least a good fifth of the time from what I watched. Like, this is just bad overall everything. And obviously, like I mentioned, that the offensive line isn't great to begin with, but you need to fire out low. He does a decent job of staying in there, but again, he comes at you with an extended position. His feet aren't under him. He's 100% leaning out. As you can see, this defensive tackle, from what you can glean from this specific play, is you see his foot's dug in the ground. He's got a good base underneath him. He's not extended like this in one direction. Trey Smith doesn't have that natural footwork to really keep underneath him all the time. He often reaches with his body, with his arms, and it gets him in trouble like this, where your balance is off and you're able to be manhandled by the defensive tackle and puts him in the ground. A lot of times he ends up on the ground because his feet are just really slow, and you can kind of be moved around that way as a guard in any level of play. So he needs to do a better job of initiating contact with his base squared. And if you're going to be at an angle like that with most of these zone blocking, you need to keep moving your feet to get them underneath you, so you're not in that stretched out position like he was when he first initiated contact with this defensive tackle. So the balance issue and the footwork need to get better. His feet are naturally slow. They're not very quick to get underneath him. They're not very quick to get out and do much. Even when he pulls, I think he's a decent puller, but you can tell when he's out moving in space, he doesn't really know what he's doing a whole lot. Sometimes it looks like his feet are either caught in quicksand or cement and things like that. So it's difficult to really see all of the things that he does well with the balance and the naturally pretty bad footwork that he has. This is another one of those things that it's not going to get you much in the NFL. I want you to notice, watch his feet. I'm not going to do anything. Just watch his feet on this specific play. Let's go. There you go. Hop. You can't be hopping. If you hop, you're not only are you really, the only time you want to see a hop is if you're taking on pressure and strength from a pass protection standpoint. You can kind of regain some leverage if you do a little 1-2 hop backwards and take some of that pressure off of your back that way. But this way, when you're jumping at somebody, it's stationary. You don't have your feet are up, either on the ground, they're up in the air, and then they're back on the ground in the same spot. That allows people to move around you in one way or the other, and it makes you miss almost every block, unless you're jumping like to help somebody else. But when you're trying to block a defensive tackle who's playing on the center, you have to attack at the spot or kind of match where they are. If they jump closer to you, you have to be able to adjust to where they're moving with your feet. So this is what I'm talking about. Let's move back really quick. So here, for example, he's blocking down on this defensive tackle, okay? If you are jumping at this area, is exactly what happens. He jumps around you. But if he ends up coming this way and you're not jumping, you're just firing out, you can adjust your feet and your shoulder pads at the same time. If you're in the air and you adjust your shoulder pads, guess what? You're going to land, and your shoulders are going to allow him to just run right by you. That's kind of what happens in this situation. So being able to adjust your plan as players are moving you can't do with your feet on the air. So like I said, his footwork, it needs to get better. You can't be doing this kind of stuff. You get beat on your butt, and unfortunately he gets beat really quickly by a defensive tackle who's shows really good quickness here. And like I mentioned, if you can attack out this way, you're also going to be able to adjust a little bit better on the fly as he moves. If he stays where he is, then you can keep going with your plan. But if he comes back around, like I said, you can move your shoulders and you can just kind of lean him this way, open the hole for the running back. So this would have been a decent play. He would have had to make a guy miss in the hole, but like I said, everyone's missing their blocks here. So it is kind of all around a pretty bad play, and it doesn't help that he's jumping at the defensive tackle here, other than the nose tackle. So all about that footwork, man. You can keep them under you and you're not jumping and keep them, putting them off the ground and keep them on the ground. You're going to do a better job with using your strength to your strengths. You know what I mean? So, all right, left guard here. This is what I like to see from a recovery standpoint. He's, like I mentioned, he's got some shimmy problems with his shoulders. You're going to see him kind of do that right here, kind of shimmy, but then he recovers as guys crossing his face, and then he can adjust because one, his feet are underneath him, and he's got some help in the inside too. So it's that shimmy does bother me a good deal with the way he plays. But if you can recover, you should start to shorten it down in terms of the time that you're doing it, and realize what you're doing. I feel like I said it's more of a tick than anything. You just kind of work it out of his process, and I think he'll be a much better player because it does take away some time from what he's doing, especially if you got some quicker defensive tackles like you're going to see in the NFL. You're going to see a lot of defensive tackles that are quicker than you in the NFL. So I really want to get through that. Now, at the end of the day, he's definitely a very good prospect. I think that he's got all the makings of being a very good left guard in the NFL. I think he can play both left and both right guard. That's something that's valuable to the Chiefs as well. That strength that we're talking about with his arms and with his engagement and his ability to want to finish really lends itself to, I think, where the Chiefs offensive line wants to go. And that's why you saw them take a chance on him in the 6th round with his heart condition, because they want to be more people movers up front as well as good pass blockers. Obviously, Andy Reid has taken his chances on those kind of high ceiling pass blockers, but not very good run blockers in the past. And it's not paid off all that well in the run game. So this is one of those fun plays you get to see from every once in a while. He's again, someone's crossing his face, trying to get quickly into this A gap, but he does a good job of holding up front and then finishing after. This is also a good job of keeping his hands square and not shimmying. And there it is. You can see he's doing a good job right there. Throws it to the ground. He's got leverage. He has everything that he wants in that position. Even though he's closing on the quarterback a little bit there, he knows where he's at. His quarterback doesn't have to really worry about pressure because he has control of the positioning. And if you guys want to see him execute an excellent Hamilton, Mitch Schwartz has talked about it on his Twitter page. You guys can go to my Twitter page and at In Harm's Way 19. I posted it a few days ago. I didn't want to redo it because I already posted it to Twitter. So it's just really showing you here that he's a pretty good pass blocker. If he can get that shimmy out of his shoulders and he keeps his hands square and he's more patient, then he's going to be a much better NFL pass blocker too. But you can see him here just winning this position with it's hard to see right here, but his hands are in the chest of this defensive tackle. Since his shoulders are let's clear this out so you can actually see it. Since the defensive tackle shoulders are one way, he knows that he's only able to come this way. He's only able to come upfield. So he can give a little bit of ground and not have to worry so much. The quarterback can just kind of move this way whenever he needs to. And then as soon as he gets more leverage in the position right here, you can see that this is where he's very good at recognizing leverage. You see his back is to him. He's trying to spin around. His feet are out underneath him. He's got all the leverage right here. Very good shoulder, feet underneath the shoulders. Very, very good base. And just throws it to the ground. So I think that this is a good example of something that he's going to be doing at the NFL level next season, so 2022 season. I don't believe he's going to be able to crack the starting rotation. He's got some some fundamental footwork balance issues to figure out, but the strength to move people out of the way, the want to finish, and the willpower to continuously stay with the block when he has to. Like he always wants to finish that play. It's very apparent in his film. I love his finishing mentality and the way that he can really be a people mover as a guard. So he definitely has a Pro Bowl level talent projection, in my opinion. I think Andy Heck's a really, really good coach to get him under. He's going to have good guards to look at in Joe Thuney, Kyle Long, LDT. He's in a good position to develop. I think that's ideally what you want. And the Chiefs have done a very good job of bringing him in, identifying that, and really showing you that they care about the development of this offensive line from a pass blocking and a run blocking position. So I hope you guys enjoyed looking at Trey Smith's film. It was a lot of fun for me. I do have some issues with his tape as of now, but again, I do believe that he's in a great position and a great place to develop into a Pro Bowl level guard. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're not a member or if you're not subscribed to the RGR Football channel, please make sure to do that right now. I believe the sub button's over on this side. Like, bell notifications so you guys get every update on all the videos Ron and I do on a daily basis, and everyone at the RGR team. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.